Hello everyone, this is Amit. I welcome you all in the video lecture series of the subject Effective Technical Communication. This is the first unit of your syllabus named Dynamics of Communication, and this is the first lecture in which we will study about introduction and process of communication. So before we begin our today's discussion, let us go through an overview of this first unit in which you will study following topics. So in this particular unit you will learn about various topics. The first topic that you will learn, that is definition of communication. Second topic that you will learn, that is process of communication. Third, that is kinesics. Fourth, that is proxemics. Fifth, paralinguistic features. Sixth, importance of interpersonal and intercultural communication in organization. So let us begin our discussion with introduction to communication. So what is communication now? So it's a word that is originated from Latin, which means communicare, or which means sharing. It has been originated from the word communicare, from Latin word, and it means to share something, means to share information, to share some knowledge, to share ideas, thoughts with someone. So for that, the medium that is required, that is language, and again it depends on the languages of different countries. So language is a medium that will be used to share your thoughts, ideas and feelings, knowledge, information to the receiver. It's a two-way process. Yes, it's a two-way process in which there will be one sender and there will be a receiver. It is not necessary that a receiver should be only one, a receiver can be many. So it's a two-way process where there will be one sender and a receiver. We also use some non-linguistic symbols, like, or you might have come across those symbols whenever you go through the city area. You find traffic signals, you find railway signals, road signs. That also ultimately is used to convey certain information related to the movements of vehicles and trains. You might have come across the traffic signals. Red color symbol indicates, or it will give you some information. Okay? You are supposed to stop your vehicle at that particular point. So that are called non-linguistic symbols, which is also used to give some information related to the movements of vehicles and trains. So this is all about introduction to communication. Next, communication process. So what is communication? That we had seen, it is used to share your knowledge, thoughts, ideas with the help of certain languages, and that again that language will change from country to country. So this process is a dynamic process and it involves 7 major elements. So those elements we will discuss one by one. This is the diagram showing you how the communication process takes place. So there are 7 elements which are used during the communication process, and each and every element we will see one by one. So moving towards our next slide of discussion. First element, that is sender. So the sender who wants to share any ideas or any thoughts to the receiver or the audience to whom he has been targeting, to share his message, he has to be involved and he should have some conceptual ideas about the thing that he wants to share. So that's an idea where that's an idea which has been generated in his mind. So the sender has some idea of the message that he wants to convey to the receiver. So it's an conceptualization of an idea which he wants to convey to others. So that is the first link in his mind, certain ideas will be there and that he wants to share. So that is the first element. Second is encoding. So once that idea has been generated in the mind of that particular sender, now he wants to convey that information or message to the receiver. So now what he will do, he will encode those facts, those knowledge related to that particular idea. So he begins encoding by using certain verbal and non-verbal words, and he will try to translate that information into a message. So that again depends on the knowledge level, skills, perception and background of the sender. So then comes the encoding, means it will try to make some certain proper structured way. He will try to gather those informations related to that idea and he will try to form it in a proper way. So that is called encoding. Then comes message. So once it has been encoded, means it has been gathered, all the information has been gathered, then he will convey that message. It may be in the form of written way or it can be in the form of oral way or some non-verbal communication also, in which he will use certain body gestures, body movements for conveying the message. So it comes after once the message has been encoded. Next element is communication channel. So once the message is ready, now he or she will have to select the medium or the channel through which they want to convey to the receiver. So the channel or medium both are same. It is used for, it is an intermediate between sender and receiver. So he can adopt oral, he can adopt written communication to convey the message. So it depends on which option that sender chooses, whether he want to convey the message in an oral way or in a written way. So that totally depends on the sender, how he want to convey his message to the recipient. Next element is decoding. So once that medium has been selected and it has been decided to send the message, now that message will reach the receiver. So he will decode. Decode means separating, means he will try to separate all those things that has been or he will try to understand in his best possible way. How he, based on his knowledge, based on his experience, he will try to separate everything and he will try to understand in a best possible way what the message, or he will try to interpret in a best way what the message wants, what the sender's message is wanted to convey, what the message of the sender wants to convey. So based on its knowledge, he tries to understand in a best possible way what the actually message wants to say. So that is called decoding, means separating. Then comes receiver. So once it has been reached, it has been decoded now, and that decoding again depends on the knowledge level, the skills of that particular receiver, how much he knows, how much experience he is having related to that particular message that he wants to convey. So it depends on that particular receiver's experience on that particular subject on which he has been working on, or on which that message has been received by him. So it depends on its experience and knowledge of the subject. And seventh is feedback. So once the receiver has decoded and understood the message, then comes the last element, that is feedback. So feedback is nothing but review, or feedback can be positive as well as negative. If the message that the sender wants to convey to the receiver, that is completely understood by the receiver, then the feedback that he will give, that will be a positive feedback. But if the message that the receiver cannot understand completely or clearly, then there is possibility that the feedback will be negative also. So feedbacks are always welcomed and to be a efficient or to be a very good speaker, professional speaker, you should always take feedbacks, whether it's positive or negative doesn't matter, but it will ultimately be helpful to you for rectifying your mistakes in your future also. So feedbacks can be positive or negative depending on the recipient's capability of understanding the topic or the subject. It can be verbal also, it can be non-verbal also. Yes, feedback can be verbal as well as non-verbal also. So these are the elements which during the communication process takes place, and this is all about the process of communication. Moving to our next slide of discussion, next point of discussion, technical communication. Now what is technical communication? Technical communication is nothing but it's an applied communication which is designed for some specific tasks. Applied communication or technical communication. Technical communication is used for certain fixed amount of or certain selected audience. Technical communication always takes place when the audience are selective or the audience are from some specific area. They are always communicated for some targeted audience. In this technical communication there is no general audience present. So when you do a job in any industry or in any company, whenever you go through the meeting or with your head, whenever you talk with your head, it's always in technical communication. So this technical communication is an applied communication which is designed to accomplish specific tasks and solve problems. For example, if you want to give an instruction to the assembly line workers, so the head of that department will talk in a technical terms, means the field in which they are working, they will easily be able to understand what this particular head wants to say. So that technical communication is always useful in the industry while talking with their engineers, their employees, means they are related to that specific field and they will easily understand. So it is used for technical suggestions, or while saying okay, what are the things that are lagging. I have taken one example, washing machine. So if one doesn't know how to operate certain functions, then you can find the user manuals within that particular box of washing machine. User manual is always available in the items that you are buying, so that will be helpful. If the person is technical, one can go through that manual and can understand the technical terms, what are the things that you should do, so that certain operations that you are unable to understand can be easily understood, and it will help you to assist. So those user manuals are always helpful for assisting you. It is always given in a sequential way. Yes, it should be given in a proper sequence, so that when you follow those steps that are given in any user manuals, whether you buy a new mobile, any washing machines or whatever, so all the information that is provided in the user manual, those types of communication is also called technical communication, but it is limited to certain or targeted audience only. Take an example of an institute. So when the staff meetings are arranged, we people discuss technical points. Okay, what are the things one needs to do such that we can improve the infrastructures, improve the experiments, how to improve those experiments that are, so how many machines we want to buy, all the things are discussed in that. So it should be in a sequential way, it should be correct, yes, clear and appropriate, and to the point. It should be to the point and it should be clearly, correctly and accurately mentioned, so that it is easy for one to get assistant. Importance of technical communication. It plays a very important role in any business or industry, be it planning, organizing or decision making. Certain technical decisions or technical things, technical faults are there in any machines if you are working in a mechanical industry. So there are some decisions that one must take, so technical decisions, so that can be taken, or at that time technical communication is very important. There are certain terms, what is CNC machine, for example. If I am talking about CNC machine, so that CNC machine stands for computerized numeric control. So there are certain things, certain parts of that machine, chuck, then spindle, those are the technical terms which mechanical guy can easily understand. So while discussing or whatever the faults that are on hand, that can be discussed in a technical way with the operators or with the higher designated peoples or the manager or the production head. It takes place when professionals discuss with some specific purpose and well-defined audience. Yes, it is always with the well-defined audience, those who belong to that particular field. So communication is important over there. It helps you in quick decision making. It helps you to make quick decisions. Then to spread disseminate knowledge in oral and written form. Disseminate means to spread in oral as well as in written form. Yes, technical communication is very, very important. Technical writing, letter writing, proposal writings, those all are technical communication which takes place whenever you are asking for the proposal from any particular industry, or you want 5 computers, then you are writing, please provide us the specification. You have sent them the specification, okay, we want this, or you are asking for the proposal for from some companies. And when the CEOs, chief executive officers, are sharing their company's progress or achievements in a meeting, when all have gathered, we have achieved this much, we have lost in this particular year of this much. So these all are the points or the places where technical communication is very, very important. You can go through some presentation slides when the technical means when you are working in any organization. They will take PowerPoint presentations, they will show certain charts, some graphs. So that is also a technical communication which you people will be able to understand. So it's always related to the well-defined audience and with certain objectives. So this is about importance of technical communication. Next, comparison between general and technical communication. So general communication, it contains general message or routine topics. At the same time, technical communication contains technical message. It is informal in style, mostly formal in style, technical communication, indefinite pattern, whereas technical communication follows certain pattern. Informal in style means there is no specific way. If you talk with your friends, for example, so there is no any specific way or any style to talk. You directly approach them and talk with them. But in case of a technical communication, whenever you work in any organization, there are certain protocols, there are certain rules and regulations that are supposed to be followed. Means for example, when you are going to meet your head of the department, so what you do, you greet them. So there is certain style that is followed. Good morning sir, good morning ma'am. Then here it is indefinite pattern, technical follows certain pattern. Then general communication, mostly oral mode of propagation, and technical can be both oral as well as written. Technical communication in that can be done by both the ways, oral as well as written. Written, it is letters, proposals, annual reports, those are technical communication. not always for specific audience. It is always for specific audience. Technical communication is, and in general communication there are less usage of technical terms or graphics. So general people will not be able to understand the technical terms that we are discussing. So there is less usage, whereas in case of technical communication there are frequently usage of technical words, technical terms. Graphics means certain charts, graphs, which is used to show the progress. You might have come across various, or you will come across in PowerPoint slides. There are different types of charts that are available, different types of graphs that are available. Jargons means some specific word that is used for that particular group of people in which they are working. Means they are familiar with the word, so you can use certain jargons which that I will give you a very good example. For in army there are certain words that they are using. For example, Alpha group, Charlie group. We don't know what that particular that Charlie means, but the people belonging to that group will be easily able to understand what they wants to say. So that is called jargons. And below are the figures. This is related to the general communication, the communication which you do with your friends, your parents. Then technical communication, technical people or certain audience who have been gathered for some specific purpose. So this is this figure shows you about technical communication. So this is all about the difference between general and technical communication. Moving to our next slide of discussion. Principles of effective communication. So how to make a communication effective? So what are the principles that one must keep in mind? The first is, effective communication will only take place when the message that the sender sends, that has been clearly understood by the receiver. What the sender wanted to convey, that has been clearly understood by the receiver. Then and then the communication will be effective. Otherwise there will be a misunderstanding and the results will not be 100%. So to communication to take, or the communication to be an effective communication, the receiver should clearly understand what the message wants to convey. Then a speaker's message must be delivered clearly. Yes, so the message, whatever the message the sender wants to deliver, that should be clearly that must be clearly delivered. Then again, at the same time, the receiver should be very much an active listener. Otherwise, if he is not an active listener, there is a possibility of misunderstanding. So that will create a problem, future problems. So the receiver or the listener must be an active. It is applicable to both the types of communication, written and non-verbal communication. Next, 7 C's of effective communication. So there are 7 C's for effective communication, or for communication to be effective. These 7 C's are very, very important. So the first C, that is completeness. So whatever the message the sender wants to send, that message must be complete. It should convey all the facts required. So whatever the information that the audience should be audience that required, whatever the information the audience should require, that should be conveyed. All the facts related to the information should be conveyed to the audience. Then again, while preparing a message or the information that he wants to share, the sender wants to share, that before that he should also keep in mind the receivers. He should also consider the receiver's mind also, or he should also consider how the receiver will be there. From their point of view, from the receiver's point of view, also he should be able to considered. So the sender must take into considerations the receiver's mindset. Means before the preparation of the speech, he or she should be consider, or he or she should be able to read the mind of the audience. Means at certain level, okay, this message whatever I am delivering, that should be understandable to them. So he should be considering the mindset of the receivers also before conveying the message, and take care that no any information is missing, crucial information. Whatever the message he wants to convey, he or she must take care that whatever are the crucial informations related to the message should not be missing, and he should leave no questions unanswered. So there is possibility that there will be some questions, so he should take care, or he should deliver the message, or he should be prepared in such a way that whatever the message is or the information he is sharing, he should cover all the bases of the information that he is sharing. He should try to take care that all the things, all the questions should be answered of the audience. So this is about the first C, that is completeness. Second, conciseness. So whatever the message that the sender wants to convey, that should be conveyed in a least usage of words, least possible words. Means in few words, whatever he wants to convey the message, that should be covered or conveyed. And highlights the main message, means main message should be highlighted with the usage of minimum or least possible words. Avoids using excessive and needless words. Yes, so there should not be usage of some needless or excessive words. But if they are using more words, then there is possibility of confusing among the audience. So he should use minimum words, and he should avoid those needless words. Provides short and essential message in limited words. Yes, main message should be conveyed in a least possible words. I have taken one example for your better understanding. Wordy at this time, for example, wordy at this time. So that can be also conveyed by speaking now. At this time can also be said now. So both are same in meaning, but now is short and in a small usage of word one can understand. Similarly, due to the fact, but when you are using concise word, because, so here it is the usage of least words. Here at this time there are use of, here we have used 3 words to convey the message. The same thing can be conveyed with the use of the word now. So only single word is used to convey the same message. So the sender must keep in mind, he should use least possible words to convey the message, and must keep in mind, he should highlight the main message. So this is about the second C, that is conciseness. Moving to the next slide of discussion, concreteness. So be particular and clear rather than fuzzy and general. So whatever the message that he wants to convey, that should be firm. He should be firm on that. It should not be in a general, or the message should not be, or he should not be talking in general. So it should be particular and clear and not fuzzy and general. So it strengthens the confidence. It is supported by specific facts and figures. So I have also taken one example for your better understanding. So concreteness means he should be clear and be particular rather than fuzzy, means one should not talk in general. So I have taken an example for your better understanding. Vague, general or indefinite, all are same. Vague means uncertain. There is nothing clear. One cannot understand clearly. They are speaking in general, or they are talking in general. So I have taken one example for your better understanding. Students in GMAT scores are higher. Now higher, they have conveyed this message in a general. You can see that this message is in a general way. Student GMAT scores are higher. Students GMAT scores are higher. But what? So it's a general message, but when you adopt concreteness, or concreteness or in precise way. So it is precisely or in a concrete way, it is clearly mentioned. Okay, in 1996 the GMAT scores averaged 600 and in 1997 that had risen to 610. So here it is a concrete message. You can clearly understand, okay, they are talking about the marks of GMAT in 1996, which was 600, and in 1997 it has been raised to 610 from 600. So one can clearly understand that that's an increment from 600 to 610. But in this particular example they are talking in general. Okay, students GMAT scores are higher, but what is the average of that scores or in which year they are talking, we cannot get a clear idea. So that is concreteness. So the message should be always clear and particular. There should not be any message which they are talking in general, so that will not be helpful. So be always particular and clear rather than fuzzy, and I hope this concreteness is very well understood. Now moving to the next slide of discussion. This is the figure which explains everything to you. Next is consideration. So consideration means stepping into someone else or shoes of others, means keeping yourself in someone else's position. So before delivering the message, you should keep in mind, you should keep yourself in their position and try to understand the situation of theirs also, or means of the audience, their background, their mindset, how they will understand, or their education level, and accordingly your message should be conveyed. So taking into account the audience viewpoints, backgrounds, mindset and education level. Do not hurt self-respect and emotions of audience. Yes, don't do anything silly that will be hurting someone's respect, self-respect. So one must keep in mind. Next, modify your words to suit the audience needs. Yes, don't be firm. Based on the situation, you can use the words, or you can change your words, modify your words based on the situation or the needs of the audience. Don't be firm. You can modify your words. You can try to make it more easier for the audience. So this is all about consideration. And emphasize on you approach. Yes, whenever you greet any audience, you should emphasize on you approach. How are you all, for example, how are you all? So that will be very helpful to you. Each and every audience will feel that that particular speaker has greeted me. How are you all? You all means individually everyone will think that this particular speaker has given me a respect or asked me how are you all individually. So that is called you approach. Emphasize on you approach, not I approach. So this is all about consideration. Then fifth is clarity. So try to emphasize on specific goal at a time or specific message. So if you are talking something, then talk only for one point. Talk to only one point, or one message should be conveyed at a time. Only one message should be conveyed at a time, or there is any goal of yours in your life. So concentrate on that particular goal at a time. Once it is achieved, then you can move to the second goal. So one should not be or one should not try to make it more congested to achieve too much at a single time. So one should only convey the single message at a time, or single goal should be focused in life. Once that has been achieved, you can move to the second goal. So try to be specific to one particular thing. It makes understanding easier. Clarity of thoughts and ideas enhances the meaning. Use simple words. For example, subsequent. For that you can use the word later. That is a simple word and that is easily understood. Then supersede. For that the substitute is replace. So that can be easily understood by everyone. So this is all about clarity. Then sixth C is correctness. So there should be proper or correct usage of grammars. So there should not be errors of grammatical errors in the communication. The message is exact, correct and well timed. Yes, the speaker must know what is the perfect time to deliver, what should be conveyed at a particular time, when to be conveyed. Use appropriate and correct languages. Next is courtesy. So senders, it shows expression, senders respect to the receiver. So always respect your audience, and the sender's message should be polite, reflective and enthusiastic, taking into account the viewpoints of the receiver's feelings. And so usage of certain words should be used. For example, courtesy words are I am sorry, please, thank you, excuse me, you are welcome. So those are the courtesy words which gives due respect to your audience or your receiver. So such polite words should be used. And this is all about the 7 C's. Moving to the next point of discussion, types of communication. So basically communication is divided into 2 types, verbal and non-verbal. Verbal is again subdivided into 2 parts, oral communication and written communication. So let us discuss first verbal communication, a form of communication in which either communication is done through the words that emanates from mouth or piece of writing. Again it is subdivided into 2 types, oral and written. So oral communication is nothing but the words or anything that emanates from the mouth, that is oral communication. So it includes meetings, when your whenever there is any staff meeting or discussion, group discussion that is going on, interviews, telephonic conversations, talking with friends, those all are oral communication. It is influenced by pitch, volume, clarity of speaking. Yes, pitch, how much pitch means tone, in what tone you are talking, that will give you in which tone you are talking with someone. If the tone is higher, then it will give some other expression, it will give some other feelings. If your tone is bit low, that is also bad. So the pitch of the words that come out from your mouth, that is very important. That should be in between the higher pitch and lower pitch. So that is also important. Then volume, how much you are speaking, in minimum time you should able to convey the message. And clarity, whatever you are speaking, that should be very much clearly understood, or it should be supported by facts. So oral communication is during telephonic calls, interviews, group discussions, meetings, etc. And it is influenced by pitch, means tone in which you are speaking, in which tone you are speaking. That gives an impression of yours. Next is advantages of oral communication. So it is economical. Yes, it doesn't require any it is not costly, it is economical, because it is words that are spoken from the mouth. It is time saving. Yes, it does not consume more time as compared to written communication, because you can easily convey the message. Immediate feedback. Yes, whether there is any problem, you can immediately give the feedback, instant spontaneous feedback in oral communication. Whereas in case of written communication, once, for example, if you have written the postcard, so it is possible that it will reach there to the receiver after 2 or 3 days, and then after you can get the feedback. But in case of an oral communication, the feedback is immediate. Then oral communication is useful during the emergency. Yes, if a situation arises, okay, one needs to get admitted in the hospital, then you can directly contact your relatives with the help of telephones. Okay, he or she is ill, we need to admit them. So it is useful during an emergency situations. Effective tool of group communication. Yes, group communication, whenever you want to take staff meetings, 5 or 10 people are there in the department, then the head can easily conduct the meeting and share the information that he wants to share with the department. So that is effective during the group discussions or group communication. Secrecy, yes. Oral communication, in case of a secrecy, it depends again on the person's honesty, how much he can keep that information secret. Whereas in case of a written communication, there is a possibility, if you have sent a letter, that can be xeroxed and your information can be leaked. But in this case, secrecy is more as compared to written communication. But that again depends on the person's honesty. So secrecy is more in oral communication. Next is disadvantages of oral communication. Lack of documentation, yes. There is no document available for whatever the things you have been talking, so that will not be helpful when any legal actions you want to take, or when you want to do any legal steps or legal actions you want to take. At that time, there is no document that is available for oral communication. No legal validity, there is no validity for it. Possibility of misunderstanding, yes, there is possibility of misunderstanding, but again that depends on the receiver's knowledge about the subject that has been discussing. So there is possibility of misunderstanding. Unsuitable for long message, yes, long message oral communication. And poor retention. Poor retention means one's ability to retain the message. I said earlier, it depends on person's retention capability. If he is not willing to keep that message within himself, he can easily share. So that is disadvantage, is poor retention. This is all about disadvantages of oral communication. Next is written communication. So usage of certain symbols or words which are used to exchange the message from one person to another person. So objectives are certain symbols that are used to convey the message. It is mostly helpful in business world. It is mostly used in business world, written communication. It is influenced by vocabularies and grammars that is used, writing style, clarity of language used. Yes, vocabularies and grammar, that is also very important in written communication. For internal purposes like memos, reports, memos means memorandum, job descriptions, employees manual, bulletins, you have heard the word bulletin, small information. Electronic mails, emails, electronic mails means emails for internal purpose. For external purpose also email is used. Reports, annual reports of the company, external purpose, letters, letter writings, proposals, fax, postcards, advertisements, contracts, all the things are available in the newspaper. You might have gone through it. So that is written communication. Advantages, legal defense, yes, if you want to take any legal action towards, or whenever you are doing so any deals with any of the companies, and the company has now been changed the policy. So if you are having any legal document or the agreement that you have done at the time of the contract, then you can easily have, or you can easily approach the court, because court always requires the document proof, so that will be helpful at that time. So written communication is always advantage, that is legal defense. Promotes uniformity, yes. Accurate and ambiguous, permits revision, you can easily revise it again. But in case of an oral communication, you cannot revise, because the words that are spoken, that will be volatile after 1 hour, you cannot remember that also. So it permits revision. All recipients receive same information, yes. You can easily xerox the thing and you can send the people, so all the recipients. Then next is ready reference. Ready reference, I am giving you a very good example. For example, in an police station, the PI, police inspector, has got the transfer from that particular station, and the new PI has been allotted or has been given the post in your city. So there are some cases that are going on, and if he wants to study about that case,
then he can easily, or it is readily available to him, because that documents has been filed in the folders, so they can easily get ready reference for the further reference to investigate that case. So that is helpful written communication at that time. Disadvantage, it's a time consuming. Yes, time consuming, a lot of paperwork. Yes, one needs to write, there is usage of papers, pens, lack of it's a time consuming, that's why, and it's bit costly as compared to oral communication. Feedback is not immediate, whereas in case of an oral communication it was spontaneous, so lack of immediate feedback, it is costly. Yes, and lack of personal touch, one cannot motivate with the help of written letter. If you are sending a letter to someone to motivate them, so there is lack of personal touch. But in case of an oral communication, if you talk with them, it feels like a personal touch, and there is a possibility that he or she will be motivated in a better way as compared to written communication. So it lacks personal touch, and hence it's difficult to motivate through letters. Unsuitable for illiterate people. Yes, most of the countries in the world are developing or underdeveloped, so those peoples are more illiterate over there, so written communication is less. You can find a few examples also. Whenever you go in slum area, those people don't even know what, they cannot read also. Whatever the paper we are giving to them, they cannot even read, or that they can even not write also. So those illiterate people, it will act as an hindrance to them, so it is unsuitable. So this is all about disadvantages of written communication. And next topic of discussion is difference between verbal and non-verbal communication. So verbal communication was divided into two parts, oral and written, where certain words, speech, expressions of emotions which are used for exchanging the information or sharing your ideas, thoughts and feelings. Whereas in case of a non-verbal communication, there is no use of words over there, only facial expressions, body gestures, means body movements, that is used for doing the communication. Best example is dumb people who are not able to speak. They convey the message with the help of body movements, eye movements, and that message is used for the conveying the message to the others. So those body movements, body gestures, facial expressions are used to convey the message, and that is in non-verbal communication. Then formal as well as informal. Yes, verbal communication can be formal as well as informal. Then non-verbal is informal. Very impactful. Verbal communication is very impactful because there is an documentation of that, and non-verbal is it shows an actual emotions of a person. It's a precise information, whereas in case of an verbal communication, the information is precise. Whereas in case of a non-verbal communication, you might require certain more information for better understanding, or you feel that some more, at times you feel that some more information is required in case of a non-verbal communication. Then in case of an verbal communication, emails, letters, notes, anything in written or oral format where the words are used. So these are the examples of verbal communication. Whereas in case of a non-verbal communication, body postures, eye contacts, facial expressions, those are used for conveying the message. It's clear and concise, complex and at times confusing. Yes, non-verbal communication is at times confusing and complex. Whereas in case of an verbal communication, there is no necessity of both the parties to remain present at the place of communication. It can be done if the party is at different location also. At that time also the message can be conveyed, so verbal communication is benefited at that time, because the presence of both the parties is not required. It can be done at any location. Whereas in case of a non-verbal communication, there must be presence of both the parties, so that one can understand the message that wants to be conveyed. So this is all about the difference between verbal and non-verbal communication, and this is all about this first lecture. I hope this would have helped you to understand what is communication and its process of communication. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.